Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. The sky over planet Shirella was no longer blue. It was red, torn apart by smoke, fire, and broken ships. The royal palace had fallen. The battle was over. The empire had collapsed, and in the middle of a frozen field, a little girl lay alone. She was just 9 years old. Her skin was a soft silver, her hair white like snow, and her thin dress fluttered in the cold wind. A broken crown lay beside her in the blood-stained snow. Her name was Ayari. She was the princess of Shirella, and she had been left behind. She couldn't move. Her fingers were numb, her lips were cracked, her voice was gone. She had cried for hours. Cried for her parents, for her people, for anyone, but no one came. The royal guards had run, her mother had been taken. The last thing she remembered was her own uncle whispering, "Forgive me," as he closed the hatch on the escape shuttle, without her. Now, she was alone in the snow, waiting to die. The wind howled louder. Somewhere in the distance, something growled. Ayari tried to open her eyes. Her vision was blurry. Then, she saw movement. A dark shape. 4 legs. Slow steps. Was it another wild beast? She didn't care anymore. If it wanted to eat her, let it. She closed her eyes again. But the beast didn't attack. It came closer and sat beside her. Warm breath touched her cheek. Then a soft, low sound. A whimper. Ayari opened her eyes and saw him. A huge dog. Fur torn in places. A scar on his right eye. One of his legs was metal. Around his neck was a glowing collar with words in an old Earth language. Max, Unit. K9 to 97, Earth military property. He wasn't from Shirella. He was from Earth. A human dog. Max sniffed her carefully. She was cold, weak, hurt. He barked once, loud, sharp, but no one came. So he lay down beside her. His large body wrapped around her like a shield. His warmth saved her from the cold. His heart beat slowly, strong and steady. And for the first time in hours, Ayari closed her eyes and didn't feel afraid. When she woke again, the snow had stopped. Max was still there. He stood and looked at her, tilting his head. Ayari whispered, "You stayed?" Her voice was dry and weak. Max gave a small bark, then turned and began digging the snow with his metal paw. She watched him. He was trying to clear a path. Somewhere, anywhere. He looked back at her and barked again, short and urgent. Ayari slowly sat up. Her body ached. Her legs felt like stone. But she got to her knees and crawled. Max barked again and licked her hand. She touched his neck, where the metal collar blinked weakly. She didn't understand the language, but she understood the message. This dog was trained to protect, and somehow, even after the war, even after being left behind like her, he still remembered. Together, the girl and the dog moved across the white field. She leaned on him. He walked slowly, letting her rest her hand on his back. Every few minutes, he stopped to sniff the air. He found a small cave between the rocks, barely, big enough for both of them. But it was dry, safe. That night, Ayari huddled inside, her head resting against Max's fur. The stars above were silent. The galaxy had moved on. But in this cold corner of a dead world, a princess and a war dog were still alive, still breathing, still hoping. Max closed his eyes, but one ear stayed up listening. He would not sleep fully. Not while his new command, this small, shivering alien girl, needed him, and Ayari, drifting into sleep, whispered one last word, "Stay." Max didn't move. He already had. The morning on Shirella was not bright. Gray clouds hung low over the frozen hills. The battle was gone, but the silence left behind was heavier than war. Inside the small cave, Ayari woke slowly. Her arms were stiff. Her lips were dry. But she was alive. She looked to her side. Max was still there. The big, scarred dog was curled beside her, his metal leg ticking softly, his chest rising with every steady breath. Ayari stared at him for a long time. Then she whispered, "You're not a monster." She remembered the stories her tutors told her as a child. Earth dogs are bred for war. They obey only their human masters. They will attack anything that isn't from Earth, but this one hadn't left. He hadn't bitten. He hadn't barked at her with hate. He had saved her. Max lifted his head and looked at her. She met his gaze, nervous. He didn't growl. He wagged his tail once, slow and soft. Then he stood and walked toward the cave entrance. Ayari pulled her thin robe tighter around her. The wind outside was still sharp, but something inside her chest began to feel warm. She crawled to the edge of the cave and watched Max. He was sniffing the air again. His nose twitched, his ears stood tall. Then he moved toward a broken metal pile nearby, part of a fallen ship, Ayari. Waited. A minute passed. Then Max returned, carrying something in his mouth, a broken ration pack, still sealed. Ayari gasped. It wasn't much, just a human survival bar. Dry. Old. But it was food. Max dropped it gently at her feet. She looked at him, surprised. He just sat down watching her. Ayari picked it up with shaking fingers and peeled the edge. She took a small bite. It tasted like dust and salt. But to her, it tasted like life. She ate slowly, then tore off a piece. She hesitated, then held it out to him. "Here, for you." Max stared at it, then gently took it from her hand. He chewed once, then licked her fingers. Ayari smiled. Hours passed. Max didn't leave. When the wind picked up again, he stood at the cave's edge, blocking the cold with his body. When Ayari's hand shook too much to move, he nudged her with his head until she stood and walked a little. She began to talk. Quiet words, not expecting answers. "My mother used to sing to me when I was afraid." Max tilted his head. "She's gone now." "They all are." She paused. "I think I was supposed to die too, but maybe I didn't." Max barked once, sharp, short, as if agreeing. Later, Ayari noticed something blinking faintly on Max's collar. A light, small, blue. She reached out carefully and touched. It had flashed again. Words appeared on the small screen. Signal attempting transmission. Her eyes widened. "Are you calling someone?" Max didn't answer. He just looked toward the sky. Somewhere out there. Earth was listening. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the snow, metal clanking. Heavy boots. Ayari froze. Max turned instantly, body tense. Through the falling flakes, a figure appeared. A tall alien, gray skin, red armor. A long, thin blade in hand, a scavenger. The alien laughed when he saw Ayari. Well, look what's been left behind." He stepped closer, blade raised. "You'll fetch a good price, little one." Ayari backed up. Terrified, Max stepped in front of her, growling. The alien laughed again. "A broken earth mutt? Move, beast." Max didn't move. The alien swung his blade. Too slow. Max lunged. Fast, furious, precise. He bit the alien's wrist, dragging him down. The scavenger screamed. Max threw him to the ground and pinned him. Ayari covered her ears. It ended quickly. Max limped back. One paw scratched. He licked his wound, then looked at Ayari. She stared at him in shock, not from fear, but from trust. She crawled closer and wrapped her small arms around his neck. He didn't pull away. She whispered, "You're not a beast. You're my guardian." That night they sat together under the broken sky. One was royalty with no throne, the other, a soldier with no orders. But in that moment, neither was alone. And the galaxy, far above, had no idea that this bond would change everything. The cave was quiet again. The fire Max had made from scavenged wire and broken hull metal crackled softly. Ayari sat beside him, holding a warm metal blanket to her chest. She no longer trembled in fear when he moved. Now she leaned against him, for safety. Max kept his eyes on the snowy hills beyond the cave. His ears twitched at every sound. His instincts told him something was coming. Something familiar. Ayari had changed too. Her eyes no longer searched the sky for rescue. Now she searched Max's face, for warning, for safety, for understanding. "You're not just a dog," she whispered, brushing her fingers against his metal paw. "You're more human than most of them were." Max didn't bark, but he placed his paw gently on her foot. Suddenly, a sharp beep came from his collar. The blue light that had been blinking weakly now pulsed stronger. Then it turned red. Max stood at once. Ayari stood too, heart racing. "What is it?" Max growled. Softly, outside, and the snow moved. 3 ships broke through the clouds above, silent, sleek, black. No flags, no signals, but Ayari recognized the design. They were Shirellan Royal Patrol ships, her people, her own blood. Ayari's lips parted. They came back. She took a step forward, toward the light outside the cave, but Max blocked her path. He growled deeper now, teeth showing. Ayari frowned. "No." "Max, it's okay. They're here to help." But even as she said it, she didn't believe it. She remembered the last face she saw before the shuttle door closed. Her uncle. He looked sad, but not surprised. The ships landed. 4 armored soldiers stepped out, tall, polished, with royal crests on their chests. Ayari ran toward them, waving. "Wait, I'm here, I'm alive." But Max raced ahead of her, blocking her again. The soldiers raised their weapons. The leader pulled off his helmet. It was Commander Vex, head of royal security, her mother's most trusted protector. He stared at her coldly. "Ayari, you were not supposed to survive." Ayari stopped in her tracks. I'm the princess." Vex nodded. "You were, but the Empire has no place for prophecy. Your death was necessary." Max growled louder now, positioning himself between them. Vex raised his blaster. "Move, Earth Beast." Max didn't move. Ayari's hands trembled. "Why? Why do this?" Vex's voice was calm, like he was talking about cleaning a floor. "You were born during the Red Star eclipse. The old book said a child born then would destroy the throne. Your parents believed it. Your uncle made the choice. You left me," she whispered. "You all left me." He lifted the blaster. "I'll fix that mistake." Before the shot fired, Max launched forward, a blur of fur and metal. He slammed into Vex with full force, knocking him down. The blaster fired, but missed. The other soldiers began to shoot, but Max darted between them with soldier precision, biting and tackling. He moved like fire, like he was born for this moment. Ayari ducked behind a wrecked engine block, heart racing. Max was wounded again, a cut across his side, sparks flying from one hind leg. But he didn't stop. He wouldn't stop. Ayari spotted a dropped weapon near her. She crawled toward it, fingers bleeding from sharp ice. She grabbed the handle, cold and heavy. She stood. For the first time, she aimed. "Leave him alone," she shouted. The soldiers turned, but before they could react, she fired. One fell. The others stepped back. The little girl they thought weak was now standing strong, her crown cracked but her heart whole. Max limped back to her side. Ayari lowered the weapon. She stared at Vex, now pinned under part of a broken wing. "You said I'd destroy the Empire." She stepped forward. "You were right. But not like this. I'll destroy the fear." Vex laughed bitterly. "You're just a child." Ayari looked at Max, then back at Vex. "I'm not alone." She turned and walked away. Max followed, and, for the first time in her life, Ayari chose who she wanted to be, not because of her blood, but because of the one who never left. Far beyond the icy silence of Shirella, across star systems, past dead satellites and drifting colonies. One tiny blinking signal pulsed through the darkness. It had been broadcasting for 9 days, a weak transmission, glitching, outdated, almost invisible, but it finally reached someone. Inside, Earth's Outer Defense Monitoring Station 9, a young officer leaned over her console, yawning. Her name was Talia Reese, 24 years old, bored, and stuck on the night shift. She sipped cold coffee and blinked at her screen. Then she frowned. A soft beep repeated. Unknown Earth Tech signature. Military Unit K9. She leaned closer. Wait, this tag's been dead for years. She tapped the keyboard, then stared. Max. Unit K9 to 97. Emergency signal detected. Talia sat up straight. K9 to 97 was declared lost during the Zerellan collapse. Years ago. She activated the emergency trace log. The signal wasn't just a ping. It came with something else, a heat signature, not 1, 2. In the snow-covered ruins of Zerella, Max limped back to the cave with Ayari on his back. Her arms clutched around his neck, her body weak again. After the fight, after the truth, she hadn't spoken much. She just held on. Max growled softly as they reached shelter. He laid her down gently and licked her bruised cheek. She whispered, "Still here. Good dog." Her eyes closed again. She needed help. Max knew it. He stepped outside, lifted his head, and howled. Not like an animal, but like a soldier calling for backup. Back on Earth, Talia ran into the main command room. "Commander Bryn, we have a live signal. K997. The older officer grunted. "That dog's been gone since the Red War. Sir, it's broadcasting now, and it's not alone." He turned. "Show me." She pulled up the feed. It was fuzzy, snow-covered. Then, a blurry image came through. A child, silver-skinned, sleeping in the arms of a large, damaged war dog. Talia whispered, "That's not human." Bryn leaned forward. "That's Chiralan, royal bloodline tattoos. She's just a kid. She's a princess." Back in the cave, Ayari stirred. Max sat beside her, alert. His collar blinked again, this time green. Ayari's eyes opened. "What is that?" Max barked once, softly. The signal had reached Earth. Someone was coming. Ayari smiled faintly. "You did it." Back at Earth HQ, Talia turned to Bryn. "We need to send a drone at once." "Impossible. Zerella's off limits. It's still considered toxic." "Then send me." He raised an eyebrow. "You're serious?" "Yes. That girl is still alive. Max is still active. We can't ignore that." He hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "You've got one ship. Take the Scarab. Quiet and fast." Talia suited up. As the ship launched into hyperspace, she uploaded all data she could find about Max, his training, his combat logs, and his last recorded mission. She also searched for Ayari. Only one blurry photo existed, an image from a royal banquet, smiling, alive, young. Now she was being hunted by her own kind, but somehow she had survived because of a dog. On Shirella, the snow fell again. Ayari sat up slowly. She was weak, but she could stand now. Max brought her a small piece of metal, shaped like a badge. It once belonged to a fallen soldier. Ayari looked at it and nodded. She tied it around Max's collar with a torn piece of her robe. "You're my knight now." The next morning, a new sound echoed through the sky. A quiet hum, different from the others. Ayari looked up. A small black ship streaked through the clouds, glowing blue under the storm. Max barked. She whispered, "Is that?" And for the first time since she was left behind, hope flew down from the stars. The wind screamed across the frozen plains of Shirella, worse than before, colder, angry. The snow didn't fall in flakes now, it hit like knives. The sky had turned dark gray, and the clouds rolled like waves ready to crash. Inside the cave, Max sat at the edge of the entrance, his back to the storm, his eyes glowing faintly as he scanned for danger. Behind him, Princess Ayari shivered beneath a thermal sheet. Her face was pale. Her fingers blue. Even with his warmth and the fire, her body was failing. Max turned his head, ears twitching. She coughed weakly. He padded over to her, placed his head on her chest, and listened. Her heartbeat was slowing. He nudged her gently. She opened her eyes. Still here, wait, he barked once, quiet, soft. Ayari gave a weak smile, but her lips barely moved. Max. I can't, I'm so tired. He stared at her, then moved to the entrance again. The storm howled, and Max did something dangerous. He stepped out into the cold. He moved fast, through snow that reached his chest. His joints sparked, his paw pads bled. But he didn't stop. He followed the scent, the sound, the memory of where they last saw it. The emergency beacon pod, half buried after the crash, still carried a heat stick and a supply case. Maybe, just maybe. Back in the cave, Ayari reached out her hand. Max, but he wasn't there. The wind outside answered instead. She was alone. Max found the broken pod beneath a sheet of ice. He dug fast, hard. His paws tore open. His shoulder joint cracked. The snow hit harder. He barked for strength. Then, metal. Bit and pulled until the case came loose. Inside, 2 nutrient packs and a plasma heat canister. He grabbed the case in his mouth, turned, and ran. The storm fought him every step. Ice clung to his fur. His vision blurred. His legs slipped. He fell, once, then twice. He stopped, chest rising, struggling. The cold crawled into his circuits. His eyes dimmed, but in his mind, a memory. Ayari's voice, whispering, "Don't leave me." That was all he needed. He stood again, and kept going. In the cave, Ayari closed her eyes. She couldn't feel her hands anymore, couldn't feel her tears. Max, her voice was almost gone. Then, a shadow at the entrance. Max fell through the snow, his body shaking, the case clamped in his jaw. He dropped it and collapsed beside her. Ayari opened her eyes just enough to see him. He licked her hand, then used the last strength in his body to press the canister button. Heat flooded the cave. The snow on her skin melted. Her color returned. Her chest rose again. Her heartbeat steadied. She turned her head. Max. But he didn't answer. He was lying still. Ayari crawled to him. She touched his face. His eyes were open, but not glowing. "Please," she whispered. "Wake up." No response. She shook him. "No." She leaned over him, forehead pressed to his fur. "You came back. You saved me again." Her tears soaked into his coat. "I still need you." Then, a soft spark, a blink. Max's eye flickered, then opened. He let out a low, slow breath. Ayari gasped in joy. "Max!" He licked her cheek, and she laughed, broken, relieved, whole. Hours later, the storm cleared. The sky opened just enough to show stars. And through those stars, a small black ship descended. Talia Reese stepped out in a heavy coat, scanning the signal with her visor. She followed the trail into the cave, and what she saw, a little alien girl cradled in the arms of a scarred human war dog. Alive. Together. She dropped her rifle and ran forward. "Princess Ayari?" Ayari nodded. "This is Max," she said. "He didn't leave me." Talia sent the emergency call. Medical units launched from orbit. As they lifted Ayari onto the ship, she reached back for Max. "I won't go without him." Talia smiled. "You won't have to." Max was lifted too, wrapped in warmth and treated, like the hero he was. Ayari never let go of his paw. Not once. As the ship left the frozen world behind, Ayari looked down from the window. She whispered, "Thank you, Max." But this time, he heard her and wagged his tail. The medical bay aboard the ESV Silverwing glowed with soft white lights. Gentle machines hummed. Warm air filled the space. Princess Ayari lay on a padded table, wrapped in clean thermal layers. Her hair had been brushed. Her wounds were healing, but her eyes stayed locked on one thing. Max, lying on a metal table beside her. He was still, not lifeless, but barely moving. The human engineers worked quietly. They repaired his broken leg joints, cleaned the frost from his circuits, and recharged his energy cells. But they didn't understand him. Not like she did. Ayari pulled the covers off and climbed out of bed. "Careful, princess," a nurse said, gently. "I'm fine," Ayari replied softly. She walked barefoot to Max's side, placed her hand on his chest, and whispered, "You didn't give up. So I won't either." Suddenly, the door hissed open. Talia Reese, the young Earth officer, entered holding a tablet. She smiled at Ayari. "You're stronger than I expected." Ayari didn't smile back. "Is he going to live?" Talia nodded. "We're doing all we can. But he's more than just metal. He's bonded to you. His will is part of it." Ayari looked down at Max again. "He has more heart than any of my people ever did." Talia sat beside her. "We scanned your DNA. You are Princess Ayari, heir to the Ziralan throne." Ayari stayed quiet. Talia continued, "We've also received a message. From your people, they know you're alive." Ayari looked up sharply. "They want to negotiate. A peaceful pickup. Return you to the capital." Ayari's voice turned cold. "They're lying." Talia blinked. "You think so?" "They left me to die." At that moment, alarms blared across the ship. "Warning, incoming vessels. Sierra in origin. Unknown weapons armed." Talia jumped up and ran to the console. "They're here already?" Ayari followed her. Her bare feet tapped the floor softly, but her presence felt heavy. Talia stared at the screen. 3 royal cruisers, shields up, weapons online. "They're not coming to rescue you," she said grimly. "They're here to take you or silence you." Ayari's hands tightened into fists. No more running. The bridge shook as the enemy ships fired warning blasts. Talia activated shields. The Silverwing wasn't built for war. It was a rescue ship. But now it was all they had. Ayari turned and walked toward the medbay. "Where are you going?" Talia asked. "To wake my protector." In the medbay, Max still lay motionless. Ayari knelt beside him. She held her hand over his chest, just like he had shielded her in the snow. "You fought for me. Now I'll fight for you." She took the necklace from her neck, the royal emblem, and snapped it in half. Half she placed beside Max's collar. The other half she placed over her heart. "We are one now. No more commands. No more masters. Just choice." She leaned down and whispered something in her own language, a single word. "Rise." Max's eyes flickered, then glowed. The dog sat up slowly, stiff, tired, but alive. He looked at her. She smiled through her tears and nodded. "Come, Knight. Our enemies have returned." On the bridge, Talia prepared the emergency jump drive, but the system locked. "Ayari," she called. "They've hacked us. They're disabling us from orbit." Ayari entered the room with Max beside her. She said calmly, "Let me try." Talia moved aside. Ayari walked up to the console and touched the interface. Her hands glowed, faintly. Her royal code still active. She rerouted power from the navigation system and locked the Silverwing's shield into overcharge. Outside, the Sierran ships fired again, but their blasts bounced off the Silverwing's hull. Talia stared in shock. "How did you—" Ayari answered. "I studied their systems before they threw me away." Then she activated the ship's comm channel and broadcast her voice directly to the enemy. Her voice was steady, cold, royal. "To those who left me behind, to those who chose fear over truth, I am not the girl you abandoned. I am the voice you feared would rise. Come if you dare, but I am not alone." She looked at Max. He growled low, his eyes glowing like twin stars. Ayari finished, "I have my knight, and together we are not afraid of you anymore." On the enemy ships, silence spread. Then they turned away. Talia exhaled in disbelief. "They're retreating." Ayari stood proud, her hand resting on Max's head. "He's not just a dog," she said. "He's a soldier of Earth, and he's mine." The starship Silverwing hovered calmly in orbit now. Below it, the ice world Shirella spun silently. Cold, still broken, but no longer forgotten. Inside the ship, Princess Ayari stood at the main viewing window, her hands behind her back, her long robe slightly fluttering from the soft vents nearby. Her crown had been reforged from scrap. Not royal gold, but metal taken from the wreckage where Max had saved her. It shone dull silver, but it meant more than any crown worn before it. At her side stood Max. He didn't need repairs anymore. His metal leg was reinforced, his scars cleaned. His collar had been replaced with a new tag. Max, Royal Guardian of Ayari, Friend of Earth. But his heart was the same. Quiet. Loyal. Watching. Waiting. Always ready. A soft voice called behind them. It was Talia Reese. "Princess Ayari, the council from Earth has arrived. They wish to speak with you." Ayari turned, calm and tall for her age. "Let them in." 3 Earth leaders stepped into the room. 2 humans. 1 alien representative. They bowed. Ayari did not bow back. She didn't need to. Not anymore. "We received your full message," said one of the humans. "We reviewed the battle footage and the betrayal by your own people." The alien counselor added, "Earth wants to offer you sanctuary, a new life, but it's your decision. We will not force you." Ayari looked at Max, then back at them. "Don't want to be hidden?" The counselor raised an eyebrow. "Then what is it you want?" Ayari stepped forward, her voice clear, strong. "I want to build something better, with Earth, not for war, but for trust." The room fell silent. Ayari continued, "I want others like me, those left behind, those forgotten, to know they are not worthless." She placed a hand on Max's head. "I want every world to know this dog chose me, when even my own blood did not." Talia's eyes shimmered with emotion. The council members nodded slowly. The human leader smiled. "Then we will stand with you." Weeks passed. Ayari moved to a protected Earth colony in neutral space. There, she and Max began rebuilding, not just homes, but hope. She met others like her, children of war, refugees from broken empires. She told her story, how she was meant to die, how one dog, forgotten by his own kind, carried her through death's shadow, and never once gave up. Soon, statues of them appeared on memorial walls. One statue stood tall in the center of a growing peace city. Girl with silver skin holding a shard of her old crown, and beside her, a dog with fierce eyes and a kind soul. But Max didn't care about statues. He stayed close to Ayari. He watched over her at night, followed her during council talks, walked beside her through gardens she helped plant. He never asked for praise. He just stayed. Until one night, years later, Ayari stood alone on a quiet hill. The stars above shimmered. Max sat beside her, now older, his legs slower, his fur faded. She knelt beside him and stroked his head. "You're tired," she said softly. Max wagged his tail once, just once. She placed a new tag on his collar, the one who chose. He lay down beside her. She curled up next to him, and the stars watched as the girl who had once been left for dead and the dog who had been thrown away rested together, safe, loved, and free. Some stories speak of kings, others of war. But this one, it is about a princess who found a hero in a dog who never gave up, and the galaxy remembered them both.